The Indianapolis Colts made a really good signing today, as well as some other wide receiver news that we're going to get into later in this video. What's going on? It's Elijah from Sports Talk Indy, where we cover all things Colts every single day. We've got like 3 or 4 really big stories that came out about from the wide receiver room. We've obviously been dealing with the injury to Josh Downs. We've got a little bit of an update on that. We've got some signings. We've got some releasings. We've got some highlights from a really, really good day for some Colts wide receivers, which includes a good day for Colts quarterback Anthony Richardson, which we needed following the first preseason game of the year. Now, the good thing about these joint practices, which the Colts will have both today and tomorrow with the Arizona Cardinals, is that you get more reps with the starters than you would in a preseason game. The Colts have said that they're not going to play but maybe half of a game with their starters at most this upcoming weekend. But we did get to see a lot. So let's get into the first thing, which is a wide receiver signing that the Colts made. They have signed veteran wide receiver Greg Ward. Greg Ward weighs in at 5'11", 190 pounds. So very small built wide receiver. Went to Houston College. Now, you might know him because he played with under Shane Steichen's offense back in 2019 through 2021. He recorded a 419-yard season, so obviously he's not going to be your wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, but he's going to be a good veteran backup, and I think this is going to be good. This is adding depth to a room of which we've seen injury, we've seen some instability, we've seen a lot of young guys, Michael Pittman being the oldest in that room. And I think this is going to be a good signing. I think this is a guy that Shane Steichen knows really well, a guy that has demonstrated a lot of speed, a lot of really good footwork. But Greg Ward, obviously coming from that Philadelphia Eagles offense. And like I said, he had quite a few really good games. He has a career average yards per catch of 8.7. He has 10 touchdowns on his career in just 3 seasons, 130 targets for 768 career yards. So he's one of those guys that's just going to be a consistent guy, maybe a check down guy. Not sure how they're going to utilize him yet, but it is exciting to see the Colts sign really anyone. We've been kind of disappointed in this signing department. So it's good to see them sign somebody. And again, this is a guy that the Colts are going to bring in to add some depth, to not rush Josh Downs. So let's get into what they had to do to make room. So the Colts announced on Wednesday morning that they waived safety Kendall Brooks and waived the injured wide receiver Ethan Fournier. These moves were made to make room for defensive end Derek Rivers, which we didn't cover yet, but they did sign defensive end Derek Rivers and wide receiver Greg Ward, both of whom were signed after being in for a workout on Tuesday. Brooks was signed to a futures deal back in January, and over the last week had been in and out of practice working through an undisclosed injury. Excuse me. Bless me. He played 2 special team snaps and 32 defensive snaps in the preseason opener against Denver, with most of his snaps coming near the line of scrimmage. According to Pro Football Focus, Brooks missed on of his 2 tackle attempts and allowed 2 receptions on 3 targets for 42 yards. So it just seemed like it was a performance-based thing for Kendall Brooks, and this is a safety that I don't think the Colts really thought he had a shot, but maybe as a backup, and it really just seemed like in the one opportunity he had, he kind of didn't really perform in a way that the Colts were really hoping he would. No hard feelings, but it's time to move on, and it made room for wide receiver Greg Ward. Now, Greg Ward is a guy, like I said, who played under Shane Steichen, and you like to see this. You like to see head coaches bring in guys who they're familiar with. But that's not the wide receiver news you probably came here for. You probably came here for an update on Josh Downs. According to Ian Rappaport, Josh Downs is trending towards being healthy sooner rather than later. Now, what does this mean? If the Colts were facing Green Bay and Chicago and even Tennessee earlier in the year than they are, which is the 2 through 4 weeks, they would likely wait on Josh Downs. But the Colts have some bad blood brewing. You saw this in interviews today with Kay Adams, where Shane Steichen, DeForest Buckner, Anthony Richardson, Jonathan Taylor, Shane Steichen, everyone was talking about this rivalry budding with the Texans. Now, it's good to see. I love to see a good rivalry, and this is one of my favorites to watch already, even unbiasedly as a Colts fan. This is one that's going to be really exciting for a potentially long time. But that means that guys like Josh Downs and maybe some other guys like Juju Brents might be rushed back a little bit sooner than expected because of the importance of this game. Now, here's why this game is important, and it's not just for bragging rights and to say that they're winning a rivalry. But if, like last season, the division comes down to 1 or 2 games, or what this specific scenario would be if the division comes down to a tied record. So say both teams finish 10-6, or both teams finish, or I guess 10-7 now. But if both teams finish with the exact same record, it is going to go to who has the most head-to-head matchup wins and divisional wins. So it's very important in this specific scenario that the Colts win against who is the projected division winner, which would be the Houston Texans. They won last year. They've done nothing but get better in the offseason, and I think that it's safe to say that they are going to be the number one competition for the AFC South title. So all divisional games in a division that is going to be this close are very important. So I think it should be treated as a playoff game. So Josh Downs is trending closer towards the 4-week than the 6-week, as per Ian Rappaport, which means it is likely that we are going to see Josh Downs start in week 1. Now, the difficulty is a guy like Anthony Richardson, who doesn't have a lot of experience, is going to rely on Josh Downs, but he's going to also rely mostly on the guys that he has more experience with this offseason. But Anthony Richardson has talked multiple times about how important Josh Downs is and how important it is that he stay healthy and is on the field. So I expect to see Josh Downs come back and have an immediate impact. I would expect that Josh Downs, being the slot receiver 1, to have a really good season, especially if he's able to bounce back from this injury, which we're hoping to see. The last part of the news is not really news as much as it is just a highlight of how good 2 of these wide receivers are. Today, we saw some absolute dynamite catches from Adonai Mitchell and a really, really good game from Michael Pittman. One of the things that you hope to see following Sunday's preseason opener. It is good to see guys like this have great games. And I can't show the Adonai Mitchell catch for copyright reasons. But if you look up on Twitter, Adonai Mitchell catch, everyone is blowing up about it. Even guys that are outside of the Colts film room and the Colts analyst network, we have seen guys talk about how good Adonai Mitchell was. And this is important. It's important to see Anthony Richardson understand that Adonai Mitchell can catch the ball pretty much wherever it is, but also for him to have the comfort to be able to throw it away from defenders, and that's going to open up the playbook quite a bit. Michael Pittman Jr. also had an incredible day today against the Arizona Cardinals, and again, we talked about this yesterday. The Arizona Cardinals are a team that had, according to Pro Football Focus, the worst defense by a long shot. They were rated at 50.2, and the second worst defense was rated at 60.0, which means that there is a 10-point difference between them and the second worst defense. So this is a good time for guys like Anthony Richardson, Adonai Mitchell, Michael Pittman, and so on and so forth, even Anthony Gould, to be able to get good reps in and be able to see a defense that's not the Colts defense, but a defense that has guys like Budda Baker and guys. The Arizona Cardinals have improved. Like, don't get me wrong, they've not gotten worse, but they have improved. So to see good games from guys like that, again, these joint practices are more important than preseason games. They just are. You're going to see more reps. You're going to see more abilities. You're not relying on drives. You're not playing games like that. You're being able to practice rep after rep after rep. And it was good to see. It was also good to see Marvin Harrison Jr. Hanging out with the Colts. He was asked in an interview who his favorite player was growing up. And of course, he said his dad, Marvin Harrison. So that is the news coming out today. It's all wide receiver based today. All wide receiver, which is good because it's what you want to hear. And it's all good news. The Colts are getting better and they're getting more experience. And I think guys like Greg Ward is going to be really, really good for the Indianapolis Colts. And I'm glad to see Josh Downs trending towards coming back sooner rather than later.